On the 16th of May 1924, a boy was born who would later be one of the greatest men in the history of the Gambia. The boy was named Jawara, who later became Gambian politician and served as a prime minister from 1962 to 1970, and later became the first president of the Gambia, holding office from 1970 to 1994. Jawara was educated in Banjul and Ghana before training as a veterinary surgeon in the United Kingdom. He entered politics, becoming the leader of the People's Progressive Party (PPP), and was elected as the country's first prime minister in 1962 when he was just 38 years old. 3 years into his leadership, Gambia gained independence in 1965 and became a republic in 1970, and Jawara was elected as the first president of the Gambia. Jawara faced a significant challenge in 1981 when an attempted coup took place, leading to the intervention of the Senegalese soldiers. This intervention leads to the formation of Senegambia Confederation in 1982, but collapsed 7 years later. More on that later in the video. Jawara continued in office until 1994 when a coup led by Yaya Jammeh ousted him from power. Following the coup, Jawara went into exile but returned in the year 2002, spending his retirement in the Gambia until his death in 2019 at the age of 95. This is the story of the first president of the Republic of the Gambia, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara. Sir Dawda Jawara was born in 1924 to Almami Jawara and Mama Fati in Barajali Tenda village in central Gambia, about 240 kilometers from the capital, Banjul, formerly known as Batos. He was the youngest of the 6 sons of the family. His father, Almami, a prosperous trader from the aristocratic family with multiple wives, commuted between Barajali Tenda and his trading post in Walikunda. The Jawara family had a historical connection as a member of the Bara of Old Mali. During Jawara's early years, he attended local Arabic school for Quranic memorization, a customary practice for Gambian children. The absence of a primary school in Barajali Tenda led to Jawara's formal education being sponsored by a family friend named Ibrahim Yuma Jallo around 1933. Jawara enrolled in Mohammedan Primary School where he received instructions from I.M. Gaba Jahumba. After completing his studies in Mohammedan, Jawara secured a scholarship to an all-boys high school, demonstrating notable proficiency in science and mathematics. Following matriculation in 1945, he worked as a nurse at Royal Victoria Teaching Hospital until 1947. Due to the limited career in education opportunities in the colonial Gambia, Jawara spent a year at Prince of Wales College and School in Achimota, Ghana, studying science. At Prince of Wales College and School, Jawara showed little interest in politics during the period when other African colonies, including Ghana, were gearing up for political independence, despite meeting Ghana's founding father, Kwame Nkrumah. Jawara's political awakening did not occur immediately. Subsequently, Jawara secured scholarships to study veterinary science at Glasgow University in Scotland. In the late 1940s at Glasgow University, his interest in politics burgeoned. In 1948, Jawara joined the African Student Association, later becoming the Secretary General and President. His time in Glasgow coincided with a period of growing Pan-Africanist favor, contributing to his political growth. In 1953, he completed his studies and returned to Gambia, and later went back to Scotland to gain a further diploma in tropical veterinary medicine at University of Edinburgh in 1957. When Jawara returned home in 1953 after completing his studies as a veterinary surgeon, he first served as a veterinary officer. In 1955, he married Augusta Mahoney, daughter of Sir John Mahoney, a prominent Aku in Batos, but later separated after about 12 years of marriage. As a veterinary officer, Jawara traveled the length and breadth of the country, the Gambia, for months vaccinating cattle. In the process, he established valuable social contact and relationship with the cattle owners in the protectorate. This group, with the district chiefs and village heads in later years, formed the bulk of his initial political support. British colony policy at this time divided the Gambia into 2 sections, the colony, and the protectorate. Adults in the colony area, which include Batos and Combo St. Mary sub-regions, were franchised, while their counterparts in the protectorate were not. Political activity and representation at the legislative councils were limited to the colony. At the time of his return to the Gambia, politics in the colony were dominated by the group of urban elites from Batos and the Combo St. Mary's. At a meeting in 1959 at Basse, a major commercial town almost at the end of the Gambia River, the leadership of the People's Progressive Society decided to change its name to challenge the urban-based parties and their leaders. Thus was born the Protectorate People's Party. The same year, a delegation headed by Sanjali Bojang, a well-off patron and founding member of the new party, Boka Fofana and Madiba Jane, arrived at Abuko to inform Jawara of his nomination as the secretary of the party. Jawara resigned his position as a chief veterinary officer in order to contest in the 1960 election. The Protectorate People's Party was renamed the People's Progressive Party (PPP) to make the party more inclusive, as opposed to generally held perception of it being a Mandinka-based party. Over time, the PPP and Jawara would supersede urban-based parties and their leaderships. This change was later known as the Green Revolution, a political process in which a rural elite emerges to challenge and defeat an urban-based political party. Jawara's ascent to the leadership of the party was hardly contested as one of the few university graduates from the Protectorate. But Jawara quickly ran into challenges, as you would see in the next chapter. In 1962, Jawara became Prime Minister, which led the foundation of PPP and Jawara's domination of the Gambia's political landscape. With Jawara's rise to power after the 1962 election, colonial administration began a gradual withdrawal from the Gambia, and self-government was granted in 1963. Jawara was appointed Prime Minister in the same year, and the independence came on February 18, 1965. This completed the Gambia's peaceful transition from colonial rule. With a small civil service staffed mostly by Akus and the urban Wolof, Jawara and the PPP sought to build a nation and develop an economy to sustain both the farmers and urban dwellers. Many in the rural areas hoped that political independence would bring an immediate improvement in their life circumstances. These high expectations, as in the other newly independent ex-colonies, stemmed partly from the extravagant promises made by some political leaders. In time, however, a measure of disappointment set in as the people quickly discovered that their leaders could not deliver on all their promises. The biggest challenge to Dawda Jawara's leadership, apart from the coup in 1994, was an attempted coup in 1981 led by Kukoy Sambasanya and some support from the Gambian army. It happened in July 29, 1981, during the time when the economy was struggling and there were accusations of corruption. Jawara quickly asked Senegal to help, and by August 6, 1981, about 2,700 Senegalese troops had arrived and defeated the coup leaders. It was reported that between 500 and 800 people died in the fighting. The coup showed that some people wanted change, especially because of the poor economic condition and the alleged corruption among government staff. The economy was hurting, especially for the young people in the cities. Jawara blamed the poor economy on the high oil prices and inflation. The most important result of the coup attempt was that Senegal sent troops to help Jawara, which made Gambians feel like their country's independence was being undermined. Jawara's reliance on Senegal caused some resentment among the citizens. It's been about 2 weeks of intense battle between the Senegalese soldiers and the coup leaders. 3 weeks after, Senegalese soldiers successfully bring Jawara back to power. At a press conference, President Diouf and Jawara announced plans to create the Senegambia Confederation. In December 1981, 5 months after the attempted coup, treaties to form the Confederation were signed in Dakar. The treaty were signed very quickly, and most Gambians were not involved, which made some people think it was done for political reasons.
President Jawara faced a lot of pressure because of the coup's effect and Senegalese rule. Under this agreement, Diouf became president and Jawara became his vice president. A confederal parliament and cabinet were created with some minister positions given to Gambians. A new Gambian army was also formed as part of a larger Confederate army. The creation of a new Gambian army worried many people. They believed it would not prevent events like the coup attempt on July 30th, 1981, or make the government more stable. By allowing the creation of an army, Jawara may have unknowingly set up his future political downfall. Over time, the army became a strong force in politics with the power to use violence, unlike political parties. This environment, as soon in 1994, made it easier for coup to happen. Perhaps more importantly, creating the army used up resources that could have been spent on improving rural development programs led by the PPP government. The growing concern from the Gambia and perhaps some from Senegal has led to the failure of the Confederation, and this led to the downfall of the Senegambia Confederation that ended in 1989.
Jawara did something remarkable that earned him trust of his people.
Unlike many African leaders, after a coup, Jawara did not respond with harsh punishment or crackdown. Instead, he chose a path of reconciliation. Over 800 detainees were given fair and quick trials, and many were released due to lack of evidence. Those sentenced to death had their sentence changed to life in prison. Serious offenders were judged by a neutral panel of judges from English-speaking Commonwealth countries. This approach earned Jawara international support, and aid quickly followed. Soon, he began rebuilding the country politically and economically. This raised the confidence that people put on Jawara and his government, but did not last forever due to several other reasons, as you will see in the following chapters.
Jawara ruled the Gambia for about 30 years, and in December 1991, he announced that he planned to retire and would not run for re-election in 1992. However, his announcement caused panic, so he agreed to run again. Even after being re-elected with 56% of the vote, the question of his retirement remained, and political tension grew among the people. On July 22, 1994, soldiers led by Lieutenant Yahya Jammeh took over the capital in a coup. This time, the coup was bloodless and Jawara was unharmed. An American warship helped him escape to Senegal.
Kufiya dugasi ne danga inde Jawara danga de besa deka sadinya nande suñu rew bi ñun dañu ko de waxna ko toujours dañu ko de Jawara ku ko bëgga indi fi yow ya Jawara yeb di ngeen des fu deka bu mu di don ku bëgga indi Jawara fi xex bi du Gambi sa ki ñoo xex sa du nekk Gambi nañ xex ci biir deka ñu won la ne Jawara ñun ñoko gëné ci ndimbali Yàlla te Yàlla nañ dimbalé yow ak Jawara yeb ñu digalé yow.
A new ruling council dissolved the constitution and imposed a curfew, claiming democracy would return later. Jawara was exiled until 2002 and returned to the Gambia as an elder statesman, but was banned from politics for life. He later settled in Fajara, where he passed away 27th of August 2019 at the age of 95.
If you enjoyed this video, you will like the next one. Click here to watch it.